Oh my. Nintendo finally had their investors meeting for the wrap up of fiscal 2016-2017. Technically ended March 31st. So, this past fiscal year, Nintendo did very, very well for itself. In fact, they posted something like almost $1 billion of net income, which is extremely high. Now, this was obviously inflated by their sales of the Seattle Mariners, which they owned a majority stake in. They sold a significant portion of that. I think they still own 10%, I believe. And then they also had a nice boost from, one-off games like Pokemon Go. They even mentioned that game itself, so I'm not just saying that because investors assumed it had an impact. Nintendo said it had an impact. But it's no secret Nintendo was going to do well. As soon as they sold their majority stake in the Seattle Mariners, we knew that they were going to have a very high profit margin overall for this year. But what's insane in all of this is the Nintendo Switch itself, which was only on the market for 1 month. Not even, less than a month before the end of the fiscal year. Now, we figured they sold more than 2 million. Most analysts projected between 2.3 to 2.5 million units sold in the month of March, and it's even better than that. In fact, you could argue Nintendo destroyed those numbers. So their total hardware shipments stand at 2.74 million units worldwide. And this only runs through March because obviously we're technically not done with April yet. So they haven't rounded up April's figures yet. That means that essentially by now there's over 3 million Switches in the wild, at least. That's crazy. But they almost sold 3 million units in under a month. Now, to put this in perspective, the PlayStation 4, the current most popular home console platform out there, sold only 2 million units in its first month during the holiday period. Nintendo's destroyed that number by almost a full million units in less than a month in March. This isn't even a holiday period. That's how crazy it is that Nintendo did this. Now, obviously, the big reason for the Switch's success, outside of the fact that it has an appeal factor that, say, the Wii U did not have, or even the 3DS did not have at launch, is Breath of the Wild. So Breath of the Wild sold 2.76 million units on the Switch. Yes, it didn't just sell, more copies of itself in the United States than it sold Switch units, which is something that we reported on at NintendoPrime.net a while ago. It sold more than the Nintendo Switch worldwide in the month of March. And overall, it sold something like 1.86 million units, with the rest of the sales coming, it sold 3.86 million units, with the rest of the sales coming on Wii U. So Zelda sold almost 4 million units already, which already puts it up in Wind Waker territory, and that's just in a month, and with the attach rate being 100% with Switch, the more Switches that keep selling from now until maybe even Splatoon 2 or Mario, it could potentially be a sale for Breath of the Wild. That's insane. And I highly doubt that Breath of the Wild is going to have a 100% attach rate forever. That's crazy. Nintendo is projecting in this new fiscal year that they will sell 10 million more Switches, which would put the total at 12.74 million units from launch until the end of the new fiscal year. Now, a lot of analysts are now saying that that's actually pretty conservative. Some think they could sell up to 15 million units this year. But I like this 10 million unit figure, and I liked Nintendo's 2 million unit figure for last month, because Nintendo in the past, mostly because of the Wii and DS success, had kind of a reputation of over-projecting themselves. Assuming that, say, the Wii U will sell 10 million units in its first year, when there was no sales momentum behind that. There's sales momentum behind the Switch to show you that, yeah, you might move 10 million units this fiscal year. It is possible. You haven't even hit your first holiday period. And in that holiday period, you have another system-selling game in Mario Odyssey coming out. This is in addition to the already existing system-selling game that is literally selling at a 1-to-1 or 1.2-to-1 attach rate. Crazy. So, what does this all mean? Well, not a whole lot, outside of the fact that Nintendo is riding high, right? We learned a few other things from this investors meeting, such as Fire Emblem Heroes has a much smaller like a small fraction of the install base that Super Mario Run does, but Fire Emblem Heroes has made significantly more money for Nintendo than Super Mario Run has. That's not necessarily a surprise, because Super Mario Run is free to try, and then you pay $10, and that's it. Whereas in Fire Emblem Heroes, you could end up spending hundreds of dollars on microtransactions in the first day you have the game. So it's just different strategies. Investors are going to like Fire Emblem Heroes market strategy versus Super Mario Run. And they probably wish Super Mario Run, because of its install base, would adapt more microtransaction-like stuff. But again, Nintendo's not just trying to generate profits with their mobile games. They want those mobile games to push interest in their console games. So Pokemon Go pushed a lot of interest into Sun and Moon last year. And I think the idea isn't that they make a ton of money off Super Mario Run, but that Super Mario Run helps promote Super Mario Odyssey later this year, and promotes that and Switch sales, which Nintendo can make significantly more money on long haul, rather than just looking at the short-term gains of a mobile game. Because generally, mobile game profits peak in the first year and then kind of start to trickle down. And we're seeing that with Pokemon Go, although obviously Pokemon Go is a little bit of an exception, because it hit highs that no other app has ever hit before. So its lows, as it comes down, is still higher than most apps out there, right? So Pokemon Go is going to continue to make bank for a long time. And that's also good for Nintendo. So the gist of it is that Nintendo's doing very well for itself, and much of this is much deserved. I mean, bravo, Nintendo. You had a bounce back year, unlike anything people expected. Not just because of the success of Pokemon Go, as the Wii U sales floundered, as 3DS sales actually upticked because of Pokemon Go, but still only topped out around like 7.7 million units or so. The big deal here is the Switch is on the ground. It's running. It is going to, or at least according to their projections, massively outpace the 3DS this year. And if anything, this goes to prove a theory I had, that the 3DS, as much as they say the Switch doesn't replace the 3DS, it does. It replaces the Wii U and the 3DS in a singular hybrid package. Just there's so many 3DS units out there, just like there was so many PlayStation 3 units and so much Xbox 360 units, that Sony and Microsoft kind of trickled along multi-platform releases for the first couple of years. Well, the 3DS is going to get its trickle along of games for the next year or two, but it's clear that Nintendo's phasing it out. They've lowered their projections on the 3DS for this year, which is expected. It's not going to sell, there's not a Pokemon Go game coming out that's going to push sales of the 3DS this year. So, in short, Nintendo making that bank. 2.74 million Nintendo Switches out in the wild as of the end of March. Even more than that by now. Who even knows? These things are impossible to find on store shelves. They are selling out like crazy. For all we know, that number has already doubled. If they've produced 3 million units here in April, all 3 million units have clearly sold, because you can't find them on store shelves for longer than a few hours even. GameStop had some in stock yesterday, and they sold out like immediately within the first 4 hours of stores opening. And I hear like Amazon and some other people will have units on sale tomorrow. Is there any doubt it's going to sell out, and that probably every single version that sells is going to be with a copy of Breath of the Wild? Insane. And as I wrap this up, I do want to give a shout out to my lovely, beautiful girlfriend, Yulia Knutson. She bought me out of the blue Super Bomberman R and The Binding of Isaac Afterbirth Plus. 2 games that I wasn't planning to purchase for myself, because things are moving fast here, right? We got Mario Kart 8 coming out. But she, just out of the kindness of her heart, knows that I'm working my tail off at Nintendo Prime. It's really hard for me to put footage in these videos from things like Breath of the Wild, because it takes 3 days for Nintendo to approve of the video to put it up, which means this news gets delayed. This video itself doesn't have any video footage in it. But thankfully, because I have those games, I can start playing through those games, which for me will be the first time I've played those games, and you'll get to enjoy me playing the game while I talk about whatever latest topic, news, or discussion we're going to have here at Nintendo Prime. Anyways, this is Nathaniel Rufflejans, and I'm signing out. Obviously, if you like this video, you know what to do. Give it a like. If you disliked it, well, thumbs down are okay as well. Hopefully you enjoyed this content and you click that subscribe button. Otherwise, well, we'll catch you in the next one.